Men who were talking about going to Australia. One of them said, "The news says there's a diamond mine in the outback where diamonds lay all over the ground. All you have to do is bend down and pick them up." And the other guy looked offended and said, "You have to bend down?" Have you ever noticed how some people have work avoidance syndrome? That's what we'll call it, work avoidance syndrome. In today's lesson, the Apostle Paul writes, "For even when we were with you, we gave you this rule: if a man will not work, he shall not eat." Now, what a discussion. What a discussion we could have about this verse. Now, of course, in context, the Apostle Paul's not talking about shut-ins. He's not talking about the disabled. It's clear the population he's talking about. It's the group that believed the rapture, the return of Christ, was imminent, could happen in any moment. They're right there. But they decided not to go into work anymore. As a result of that, probably feeling that they were far more spiritual doing that. That's who we're talking about. Oh, could we talk just for a few moments about work? Let's talk about work, friends, not from a liberal point of view, not from a conservative point of view. Let's see if there are some things we can agree on about work from a Christian point of view. First of all, let's agree, friends, that there are some lazy people in this world. Can we agree on that much? Now, please. There are. You know it. I know it. The Lord knows it. Nobody, I don't think, would argue with that. You may know the story about the old mountaineer and his son who were sitting in front of the fire. After a long period of silence, the father said, "Son, step outside and see if it's raining." And without looking up, the son answered, Pop, why don't we just call the dog in and see if he's wet?" Some men were discussing their TV habits. One man mentioned his remote control. "Well, that's one luxury I can get along without," said another man. "It's a sad, sad day when I get so lazy that I can't tell my wife or son to get up and change the channel." Now that one hurts, doesn't it? That one stings. But it's true. It's true, friends. There are some lazy people in this world. I mean, let's be honest about it. Lazy people abound in every profession. They abound in every single occupation and every walk of life. According to the National Commission on Productivity, only 2 of every 10 employees in all occupations, it doesn't matter, all occupations work at their full potential. 2 out of 10 at their full potential. Nearly half the workforce expends only the minimum effort needed to get by. Motivating people, it's complex. It's a complex issue. Every manager, every supervisor, every coach, every teacher knows it's true. It's difficult to motivate people. So let's confess that there are lazy people in every stratum of society. Are you still with me? Then let's confess something else. Lazy people, on the whole, are just not very happy. They're just not very happy, friends. God intended for us to be productive. Even before the fall, Adam and Eve. We're to tend the garden. They were to tend the garden. God means for us to be doers. The happiest people in this world are people who are accomplishing things. Accomplishing things. Did you realize that the Bible uses the word work more than 350 times? We were created, as we mentioned in prayer minutes ago, we were created to be partners with God in tending his creation. Dr. Catherine Rost and Dr. Richard Smith at the University of Arkansas School for Medical Sciences, they conducted a study on the mental health of heart attack survivors. Now, having a heart attack, as you probably know, is not only a severe physical shock, but also a psychological and emotional shock. Survivors oftentimes, and Lori knows this well, working with that population, survivors oftentimes develop some degree, sometimes staggering degree, of depression. Isn't that right? Of depression. Probably, some of it at least, coming face to face with mortality. Now, one thing that the doctors found, which greatly reduced the chances of depression, was going back to work. Going back to work. Of those who returned to work, only 9% showed any depression a year later. Of those who did not go to work, 52% suffered from deep depression a year later. Believe it or not, work is the preference of the healthy mind and body. The happiest people in the world are the most productive. Arm & Hammer, the industrialist who died in 1990 at the age of 92, was once asked how a man his age had the energy to continually circle the globe to conduct business. He said, quote, "I love my work. I love my work. I can't wait to start a new day. I never wake up without being full of ideas. Everything is a challenge." George Bernard Shaw, one of the most successful playwrights of all time, said something very similar. He wrote, "I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. For the harder I work, the more I live." Happy people are people who have something to live for, something to work for. They take pride in their work. They like seeing the results of their labor. And for some it may be on the job. For others, it may be around the home. Not everybody has a rewarding job. Let's face it. There's some dreary jobs out there. Isn't there a show on this now, Dirty Jobs or something like that? There's some tough jobs out there. Some people find fulfillment in working with scout troops, working at food banks, working as volunteers in hospitals, whatever it may be, or just maybe simply keeping their home looking beautiful. But there are few people who are happy doing nothing. Idle people are not very happy. And that brings us to our final point. Let's ask whether a person's relationship with Jesus Christ has anything to do with their attitude toward work. Now, we all know, at least I hope we know, the importance of a healthy attitude on the job. Every employer will tell you that attitude is at least as important as competence. At least as important. If you can't get along with others, if you're unreliable, if you just don't care about the quality of your work, then no matter how competent you are, very few employers are going to want to hire you. Attitude is critical. Critical. Research has been done on how mental attitudes affect physical strength. The scientists used a gripping device to measure grip strength. The average grip of the experimental group was 101 pounds. By means of hypnosis, participants were told that they were very, very weak, and their average grip strength dropped from 101 to 29 29 pounds. Still under hypnosis, the subjects were told that they were very, very strong. Their average grip strength quickly rose to 142 pounds. The difference is only one: what they believed. What they believed. When they believed they were weak, they became 79% weaker. When they believed they were strong, they became 40% stronger. So the ideas, friends, that we feed our minds, think of it as a computer, in many ways it is, feed our minds, are just as important. They're just as important as what we feed our bodies. What we believe makes a huge difference in how we perform. A young soldier was discharged from the Army after World War II. He's very, very excited about his opportunities. He joined a corporation that promised an excellent future, but 3 years later, he found himself going in circles, caught in the holding pattern of depression. No one seemed to appreciate his enthusiasm, his suggestions, or his talents. Not one of the promotions ever promised to pan out. He was bitter. He's bitter. He's disillusioned. Well, one afternoon, he decided to quit. He's ready to pull up stakes, head to California. But on that very day, while walking home, he spied a green object in the gutter. He picked it up, and to his complete shock, he saw that it was a $1,000 bill. Can you imagine this? $1,000 bill. Remember, this was years ago when $1,000 was a small fortune. The young man runs home. He's ecstatic. He spent the entire evening dreaming about what he could do with this unexpected gift. He stared at it. He fondled it, kissing it like a baby. He tucked it in his drawer, taking it out now and again, look at it, and just verify that it wasn't a dream. With his secret money, he went back to his job. He goes back with an entirely different attitude. It didn't matter, you see. Didn't matter anymore what his boss said or did not say to him. Didn't matter. He had an insurance policy, and he could leisurely look around for something else. He's all smiles, pleasant to everybody. He was willing to do whatever was asked of him because he had some cash in the bank, giving him the mental freedom to come and go as he pleased. Well, naturally, his new attitude was noticed immediately by just about everybody, particularly by his boss. Promotion came soon after. Within a month, the young man was one of the top salesmen in the company. He's offered a territory all his own in a new section of the country. Now it was time. Now it was time to cash in on his treasure. He went back to the bank. He slid the $1,000 bill under the cashier's window. The teller looked at the bill and looked at him and looked at the bill, looked back at him. "Excuse me, sir," teller said quietly, "where did you get this bill?" "Well, you won't believe me," replied the young man, "but I found it in the street." "Oh, I'm afraid you'll have to come with me to the manager's office," the teller said. "This bill's counterfeit." Now imagine that. Imagine that. A young man's whole life was changed by a bill that was not even real. But because he assumed, only because he assumed it to be real, he acted as if it was real. His entire life changed. Bill's worth nothing. Bill wasn't worth the papers printed on. The meaning he gave it was everything. If we could change people's attitudes, friends, we'd change our society. That alone. If we could help people believe in themselves, if we could give them a sense of dignity, if we could help them take pride pride in everything that they do, then we could break some of the self-defeating cycles that rob people of their motivation and consign them to a life of poverty. Jesus has been changing people's lives, friends, for some 2,000 years. Maybe what we need to do for people whom we deem poorly motivated is to introduce them to Jesus. But then who'll motivate us? Those of us who find it so easy to criticize others for their inactivity. Who will motivate us? Talk about others, about Jesus. Maybe we need a fresh experience of the Master ourselves. Hey, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we're in this place today, together. But this is where changes in attitude take place. And all God's people said, Amen. Amen.